everyone on the internet. Hello to my 49 followers on Instagram, my 14 followers on SoundCloud, and the 2 people that are probably going to listen to this. I welcome you all to the Fueled by Coffee podcast. My name is Matt. I'm your host, and I thank you for stopping by and hope you enjoy your stay. Today is a new premiere here for season 3 of the pod, and looking forward to it. Lots of fun episodes, very music-centered season. It's what it's looking to shape up to be. Some new guests, some familiar, fun, loved faces returning. Just a lot to look forward to the next few months that we're dropping episodes. Today, we're talking music. And I am here with a man that needs no introduction in the Fueled by Coffee world. He was here for the pilot. He was here for the virus episode. He was on the Men at Work episode. And last season he made an appearance to break, I think he broke the longest tenured guest record with his brother Pete when we talk music. I'm joined by my official season 3 co-host, my good friend Aaron. Aaron, very happy to have you back in the saddle with me, just chatting about lots of different things.
Thank you for that grand entrance.
I've been planning that. I've been drawing that one up for like the last month in my head.
Yeah?
Oh yeah.
I feel like we should put an award for me somewhere.
Well, actually, it's funny you should say that, Aaron, because as a huge thank you for you being such a huge part of the pod all these months.
Oh my God.
I'd like to give.
Shirt.
I'd like to gift you the first ever official license Fueled by Coffee
sponsored
podcast.
by the NFL.
Bought on fanatics.com. the first ever officially licensed Fueled by Coffee podcast t-shirt.
Oh man, that's awesome.
Handmade by yours truly with the help of Ben. Shout out to Ben. Very, very thankful that you had me over. Ben presses t-shirts on it with vinyl. It was a really cool learning experience. Just, I helped him out with the labels, and he showed me like how long to press them for. We hung out and just kept it real with each other. Really fun. So Ben, shout out to you. Thank you for your time. I did compensate him for helping me out, and yeah, man. So t-shirts, very cool. It was so surreal being like, wow, like
get them while they're hot.
I have a t-shirt now. We have 2 extra labels, and I may have like an extra medium that we made.
Extra label?
Yeah, like so like what he did is he made it like on vinyl and we pressed them.
I thought you were messing up the word extra large.
No. We have 2 extra labels, so 2 more shirts could be made, and I may have an extra medium left over from someone who's probably not going to pick theirs up. So if you're interested, hit us up on the socials. You can follow us at Fueled by Coffee Pod on Instagram. We do have a Twitter. I don't like Twitter.
Do you have any pictures of the shirt up anywhere?
My neighbor posted one to his story, but I do want to get a post up.
Yeah, you don't want me to be the model though. We should get somebody who looks good.
By the time this episode drops, there will be a post up. But yeah, the shirt's just a nice little pocket shirt, nice little mug with the the Fueled by Coffee branding on it. Really cool. Check us out on social media. We do have a Twitter, not very active on it. I'm hoping that I don't know, maybe I could figure out some sort of posting schedule for Twitter, perhaps. It's just too political for me. But check out the Instagram. That's where we post everything. Today, episode 1 of season 3, coffee. I am drinking Bones Coffee Company. I got 3 bags of their coffee for Christmas.
Nice.
This is the eggnog flavor.
Ooh.
And I'm not an eggnog fan, but this is really good.
Yeah. I had Maxwell House French roast.
The classic.
This morning.
The classic.
Good stuff.
Yeah, shout out to Bones. Their coffee, they have a lot of cool artwork on their packages. So I have a fan.
Are they local? Remind me.
No,
You've had them before though, right?
Yeah, Sean and I had them on the one episode, and I couldn't sleep afterwards. It was just so much caffeine. It was called like high voltage or something like that, and yeah, I couldn't sleep. So shout out to Bones, and we're just gonna jump into it. But between season 2 and 3, we released a couple different episodes. We have the Parks series where we did episodes on the go. And prior to that, around Christmas time, we had the Evergreen episodes, which were Christmas themed. Really cool. Lots of fun stuff talked about. They're a little bit longer, but worth a listen. You'll have a laugh for sure. Especially the one that Sean and I did, because that one was ridiculous. Mm-hmm. That one was obnoxious. But yeah, let's just, real quick before we dive into this music episode, what have you been up to between season 2 and 3? It's been a minute.
Oh, man. Well, we did some episodes together. You got me a fabulous Wawa coffee mug for Christmas. Thank you for that.
Shout out Wawa, please sponsor me.
No, just working, trying to fix up the house, getting my goals straight, and prioritizing, trying to become a better person every day.
Absolutely. That's the way to be.
How about you?
Pretty much the same thing, man. Just trying to get in a positive headspace, stay in one, be creative, work on some more music, just trying to get the pod episodes hammered out. New Year stuff, just trying to set goals that are within reach.
New Year, new you.
Did you see the donuts I posted and I captioned it like New Year, New You on Twitter? Yeah, I had these cool little like purple New Year's donuts that I made, and I was like, I'll post these.
Nice.
They're cool. But yeah, lots of good stuff. You can follow us here on SoundCloud and check out all the episodes. We have, I think I saw today, like 20 episodes posted currently. Probably a couple more by the time this one drops, but we have lots of stuff, so there's something for everyone. But jumping in, today's a music-centered episode. Not many people know, because I've always kind of kept it on the down low, because I was always very, I don't want to say like embarrassed, but like insecure. Like you and I always talk about not liking the sound of your own voice. And so like that's me when it comes to music and hearing myself sing, because I'm like, ooh. I mean, it's a lot better now than it used to be, but I had a music project for quite a while, and I wanted to just kind of dive into it because it has a really cool story behind it. It never went anywhere. I mean, like it had a little teeny tiny bit of success. I made like $20 or $30 off of my releases, which is that's cool. But we're going to chat about it today. Union Coffee Break. This is the Union Coffee Break episode. But before we get into that, let's just recap. We talked about, Aaron, your previous music experience on an episode last season. You guys can check it out. It's called It's Always Sunny. Pete and Aaron joined us for an episode about their old band Above the Mendoza. How, what would you like to share with everyone that they may not know about Above the Mendoza yet?
I don't know. Or a bunch of clowns.
What hasn't been said?
I think we beat that one with a dead horse over a couple episodes.
Yeah. Yeah. They're just,
so check them out.
Check
out the previous season episodes.
Yeah.
Always Sunny is a good one, I think. I don't know. We bring up mention to all the crazy van stories.
Yep.
In a lot of different episodes.
We did, yeah. We did some cool local band shout-outs, which is something I think I might want to start doing once a week, is just shouting out a different artist each week. That'd be cool.
It's very important, especially now more than ever, to support your local music scene.
Yep. Yeah, Above the Mendoza, check them out. Awesome. If you're into like alternative music or rock or pop punk, definitely check them out. Moving forward, Union Coffee Break. It was a project that I started my junior year of high school. And, I've been a musician for probably like I just turned 23. So probably like the last 10 years I've been playing guitar, and then I, taught myself bass, taught myself how to sing mediocre, in a very mediocre fashion, and I've taught myself drums in the last couple of years. So I've been a musician for a long time, and it's crazy how everything happened, like music-wise, because everyone has like that one band that they just like latch onto usually, or like that one artist that really gets them into music. And for me, that was Blink-182. For you, who was that artist for you?
Blink-182 was one of them, but I think Green Day would be the original. American Idiot was like the first thing.
That the album? Yeah.
This is it.
That's interesting, because that's a little bit of like a controversial album for some people. I've heard a lot of people say it's like a sellout album for them.
It's not, well, I shouldn't, it's not like it's my favorite album, but that was the first album where I was like, man, I could see myself trying to do something like that.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. Yeah, for me, I don't know. I remember like coming home. I was in 8th grade. I had just started playing guitar like seriously the summer before, and I got really into Blink. I would just listen to like all their music videos while I did homework, and from there that progressed into like, you know, learning all their songs, trying to write my own songs. I jammed with John, who was on a couple of episodes. You know, a few times we tried doing music and never really panned out, but it was a good experience. It was a good experience to collaborate with someone and, you know, just write songs not on my own. I learned a lot from jamming with him. But then I remember like starting this project, it was like New Year's Eve, it was 2014 going into 2015. It had just turned to the new year. I remember like laying there in bed at, New Year's or like 1 a.m. New Year's Day, and you're laying there and you're like, wow, that was fun, New Year's Eve, like stupid. But I remember laying there and like I was listening to The Dreamwalker by Angels and Airwaves that had just come out, and like, I was obsessed with Blink-182 for like years. Yeah. So like that's all I listened to was like Blink, Angels and Airwaves. All the spin-offs. There were other bands in there too, but like those were the big ones. And so listening to The Dreamwalker, I was laying there in bed just like, if I'm going to do music, I got to do it now. Like I had this like weird motivation that just, I was like, I got to do it this year. So I was a junior in high school, and I had a really old Dell laptop that was very slow. I think it had many viruses on it. Like just for reference, like when I was trying to upload my first demo to Bandcamp, I can't tell you how long it took me, because every time I clicked something, like clicked a link or clicked post or clicked the back arrow, it would just take me to a random website. I think my computer was infested with.
Oh my God.
It was bad. It was very slow. But I remember just like sitting there being like, like I got to do music this year. And so a couple months into 2015, I was like probably 17 years old, I think. I didn't have recording gear. I was really heavily inspired by, there's this guy, Pat the Bunny, and I would listen to him. He just did this. These are terms that should not go together ever. He did anarchist folk punk, which is like three things that generally don't really go together. And, it's just like him strumming on his guitar really hard and like singing like really poorly, just kind of like screaming. I may throw a song in here.
I stick tape on the holes in my shoes. I stick my tongue in the holes in my teeth. I stick expletives in the holes in my thought process when I speak. My friends stick to their guns, they got a bunch in the woods of Vermont till the end times come. But Saturn says he's gonna learn to live as if the world wasn't gonna end, and I admire his strength. I'm gonna do my best to drink coffee in the morning and live as if I didn't feel lonely and hopeless and helpless, to save myself for the war where I live. And tonight, when I dream, it will be that the junkies spent all the drug money on community gardens and collective housing, and the punk kids who moved in the ghetto have started meeting their neighbors beside the angry ones with the yards that their friends and their dogs have been puking and shitting on. And the anarchists have started filling potholes, collecting garbage to prove we don't need governance to do these things. And I'll wake up burning Times Square as we sing. Throw your hands in the air, 'cause property is robbery.
doesn't do music anymore, but he had this project called Wingnut Dishwashers Union, and I was really into that. And I thought, like, man, if this guy can make this, like, you know, it wasn't like this overly produced, like, crazy big album. Like, it just sounded like a guy with a really heavy passion for something, like making music.
Yeah.
And so I was like, if he can do it, I can do it. So I downloaded Audacity, which for those who don't know is a free audio editing and recording software. Anyone could get it on their computer. And I used my crappy old acoustic guitar that had like stickers and drawings all over it. And it was like a cheap Epiphone. And for miking purposes, I used my PlayStation chat headset, one of those little like headphones with the microphone. I would like set it up and like, you know, I think I recorded like 8 songs and only ever put out 5. And I took that whole year, 2015, I would come home from school. I was having, you know, kind of issues with school in terms of like acceptance, you know, like being like I didn't fit in, and I had some like weird ingrown toenails going on, and I have to throw that in there because they were bad. I had them for like 5 years. I was afraid to tell anyone about them because of how gross they were. So like just like man. Not a fun time in my life, you know, like I was in a toxic relationship in hindsight, and it's just, you know, it was not a fun time. And so I'd come home from school and I'd record these songs. And some days, as you know, with any type of art, sometimes you sit down and like it just comes to you and you're like really good. And I wasn't recording to a click. I didn't know how to play to a metronome or anything. You know, and some days it was just awful and I couldn't play guitar for the life of me, and I'd be like, this sucks, you know.
The fact that you used a PlayStation headphone microphone was some real ingenuity there.
Oh yeah, well it was funny. Like I was gonna save for like a USB, like the blue snowball, whatever they're called, but I never did, because something better came along down the road, which I'm gonna get to in like a couple seconds here. But like it's funny, like I remember telling Jack, who was like one of my best friends at the time, like, yeah, I'm recording these songs, and he was like, I don't know, man. Like he was so unsure, like with like the recording quality would be like. And I remember when I put out that first demo, he was like, wow, I'm impressed. Like,
yeah, we used to, well, not used to, but one of our old bands did demos with the Rock Band microphone.
Really?
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Just like one microphone over the drum kit. And then
is that From Dusk to Dawn? Is that,
I think that's probably what we used in that, or Transfer Switch, one of the two.
Wow, that's interesting. That's pretty cool. I didn't know you could do that.
It's the same thing, USB, just...
Wow.
Like, it was from PlayStation 3.
Okay, all right. Yeah,
USB into the computer, and it's just like a regular...
I mean,
it's not like a real microphone, but...
Yeah, well, like, everyone starts somewhere. You know, you have to be, you know,
I'm sure it wasn't the quality you got out of that headphone from I don't know. PlayStation.
I was thinking about, like, throwing a little song in. It's like one of the it's literally like private on Bandcamp. No one can hear it because it's just that bad. Like 3 of the songs are instrumental, 2 of them have vocals, and they're just awful. Like it's just me whining about like.
But now you see bands releasing their old demos like that, and like they're being successful or making money off of it. So why not you, man? Why not bring that old? Was it Union Coffee Break when you started?
It was Union Coffee Break.
Bring out the B-sides, man.
Yeah,
the demo. The sessions, the inside sessions.
It was called the Bedroom Demo.
There you go.
It's got this picture of me sitting on like a cliff in the cinders behind 7-Eleven, just overlooking God's creation. Now, the intro song was good, and I was thinking about throwing that in here. But it was just one of those things, like, I remember I sat down one day and I was like, all right, I'm going to try and record. And I laid down one guitar track, laid down another guitar track, like a lead, and then I put a bass on it. And I was like, all right, that was cool. Like, and then that whole year I just would, you know, I worked on songs the whole year. And the name Union Coffee Break, people are always like, wow, that's a name, like, interesting. And the way that came up, in high school, I was doing like a half day at Votech, and I went for masonry. That's originally what I was going to do with my life, was construction. And the one day, so junior year, we all got a little lazy, and we would kind of just like work on our projects for an hour and then go sit in the classroom and do nothing because we were a bunch of bums. But like the building director who worked with all the construction classes, he came in the one day and he was like, he saw us all just sitting around. He thought we were taking a break, and then he leaves the room, and then he comes back like 30 to 45 minutes later, and we're all still sitting there, and he comes in and he goes, "Oh my God, you guys are still sitting here? What is this, a union coffee break?" And it was one of those moments the light bulb went on, and I was like, that's it. I'd been recording these songs for like maybe 6 months at this point. I was like, that's the song, that's the name. There we go. Like, you know, so that's where the name came from. I just thought it was cool.
That's how it happens sometimes.
And like just over time, like I've grown this love for coffee. So like it just works.
Look at us now.
Yeah, look at us now. Fueled by Coffee podcast. The way God intended for it to be. But no, it's just, you know, so 2015, I recorded that demo. Going into 2016, I switched to cyber school. I just, like I said, I didn't like going to Saucon Valley. It just wasn't a good fit for me. So I transferred into an online charter school, and the district didn't want to pay for me to finish Votech, which is, I think, understandable. It's kind of sucky, but I understand why.
Yeah, you guys were just sitting around all the time.
I was one of the best in the class, man. But
the best at sitting?
Yeah. But yeah, so then like going into that cyber school, they hooked me up with an internship program that taught you like career skills, and you know, through working with, there were two teachers. One was like a STEM teacher, and the other one was like an arts and literature, I guess, teacher. And they would, you know, you would work with them to find an internship in your desired field, and then you would go intern and then hopefully get a job through that. And so basically that's where I met Kurt. You know, Kurt, Heal the Night.
Kurt from Heal the Night.
I'm going to throw a tune in right here. Yeah, Kurt from Heal the Night. He is a school teacher, and at the time he was teaching at this online charter school. And I remember we had to take like one of those job quizzes, and of course my results all came back like art, you know, like photography, music, and then like I think recording came up, and I was like, that would be really cool. Like, so I just sent him an email. I was like, hey, like, would you be interested in helping me get into recording or something? And he was, you know, I found out somehow through like one of his live lessons that he was in a band and that he did recording, and he was like, look, like, do some research on studios in the area. I have an idea, but I'll get back to you on it. So this is like end of 2015, early 2016. My demo released the very beginning of 2016, I think, because then I spent 2016 just like practicing recording, you know, working on different song ideas, like just trying to get better at it,
right,
so that I can make better sounding music. And so Kurt calls like one day, end of 2015, and he's like, hey, I have an internship lined up for you. Like, now normally Kurt did the STEM stuff, but because it was a music related thing, he just put me in his class because, you know, it just worked out that way. One of his friends, I think they grew up together. His name's Josh. Shout out to Josh. You were a really cool guy to intern under. He does like live sound he's done stuff in studio, but he did a lot of live sound on tour with Usher. So he was like, yeah, my friend Josh said he would love to work with you. He'd love to teach you, you know, like the ropes of recording. And the cool thing is all three of us were like in the same area. Kurt was in Quakertown, Josh was in Bethlehem, and I was in Hellertown. So like we all were able to get together and actually have like in-person lessons, which was super cool. So, you know, I don't know, it was a really good experience, really good opportunity. And through that, I actually got this scholarship. The church I grew up in, they did these, they did an academic scholarship and a music scholarship at the end of every school year. And for the seniors, and I just happened to like apply for the music one, and I got it. And so they awarded me, you know, you had to like write an essay about like what you were pursuing and how you were pursuing it. And I wrote about my internship and about my music that I'd been recording. And I won $1,000 to put towards like a studio.
Nice.
So that's how I got my setup. Like, you know, like my first, like my drum software, my DAW, which is a digital audio workspace, my monitors. Like I got a whole bunch of cool stuff through it. And so, you know, I worked with Josh, learned a lot from him, and then all of 2016 I just spent getting better and working on different ideas. Now, you went to school for music, right? Like with recording and stuff?
I did, yeah. I did a bachelor's in audio production and like general music. I played the trumpet through school and yada, yada, yada.
Yeah. Where did you go?
I went to American University. They had just... When I was visiting the school, they had just gotten like a big upgrade to their audio program where the guy who designed Jay-Z's studio and a bunch of different big name studios in New York came in and redesigned their studio spaces, and they got this really fancy console and some name brand stuff, and I was like, oh, this is awesome. Like,
that's really cool, yeah.
Top of the line stuff.
Was that a fun experience for you, would you say?
Oh, yeah. It was great. All the people there were great. It was a good community to grow up learning in and kind of bouncing ideas off of each other. And I still keep in touch with a lot of the guys guys and girls that I did the program with.
That's awesome. That's great. Yeah, music is one of those really fun universal things that I feel like a lot of people, as long as you're in the right headspace, like you can all connect on it in some way or another. That's awesome, though. Experiences like that are like really helpful, I think, in the long run. But getting back to the project, yeah, end of 2016, I recorded this song that was like the first good Union Coffee Break song called Broken Dreams. Basically started out as like I just recorded a loop like of guitar, and then I just kept adding things on it, and there was like a Rhodes piano, there was like a simple drum beat, and I basically fooled around with it for like months. Like I think I recorded it in like September, and I never actually released it till like February, because like in between those months I got like a new acoustic, and I switched some of the electric guitar to acoustic guitar. Just like played around with different things, added vocals, took vocals away. And the one thing that I think sets my old stuff apart from the newer stuff was that I used way too much reverb on the vocals because I was insecure about my own voice, which, sidebar, Aaron and I are actually going to talk about that on a future episode this season. Definitely check that out. But yeah, like we always talk about being insecure about your own voice.
Oh, yeah.
And I would always like have the vocals like really level with the music, or like drench them in reverb, because like I mean, and there's a lot of like indie bands that do that I've found now.
Yeah.
But at the time I was just like, I don't like how I sound. I wasn't confident. That was
one of my big issues too, was getting the vocals to sit right in the mix.
Yeah, it's hard. It's not easy.
Like where it's not right in your face and all the music sounds like it's way back here, or vice versa, where you're putting it too far into the music and it just Like you can't understand what they're saying.
Yeah, sometimes it's easier than others to get it to sit right, but like especially,
and maybe it was a subconscious thing too. Like, I don't want to hear my own voice, so I'm gonna blend it in more.
Totally could be, and it's just not having that confidence of like, this is my voice. This is what makes me unique as an artist. It's not the best, but it's not awful, But that was like the first good song I remember putting out, and so in that time. Probably like I said, I put it out like maybe beginning of February 2017. I had reconnected with John, who was a good friend of the podcast for a while, and we started jamming. And like in that time we were jamming, I was like working on stuff on my own, because like once I had that I hit on that like good song, I was like, it was off to the races. I just wanted to keep writing and recording. And so from there, it was just like a spur of the moment, like unplanned. I was like, I have these 4 songs that I really like, and I put out the Depression EP, which like to this day, I think Depression is like one of my favorite songs I've ever written, just because it was so real. I don't know. It was just a cool sound. Like I started messing around with a lot of like chorus pedals and different effects and Rhodes pianos, instead of it just being like distorted guitars and drums. It was a lot of different unique new sounds,
right.
And obviously the drenched vocals, and I started trying to scream and like that type of thing. There's a lot of influence going on in that time. I was really into Brand New. I mean, I still am, but that was like a huge influence. I don't know, Rage Against the Machine maybe a little bit, and of course like Blink and all those bands, A Day to Remember. Yeah, did you ever listen to the Depression EP when it was out?
I think so.
I think it's private now, because the one song.
I think I've heard most of your Union Coffee Break stuff.
Yeah, probably. I just feel like a lot of the older stuff, as I get older, or as I become more mature, I just look at it as it's very melodramatic. I mean, I was like, 17, 18, 19 years old when I was putting this stuff out. And granted, I'm only 23, but those like 18, 19 feels like it was like ages ago.
Right.
I've done so much and gone through so much since then that I just feel like I'm so far away.
I think you'll find a lot of people feel similarly about that. I know I do. When I go and listen to my older projects, it's like, what were we doing?
Yeah.
How do we even get shows?
Yeah.
That type of thing.
Yeah. But Depression, it's still like a song that really holds up. It's short, it's punky, it's indie, it hits hard. Like the lyrics are really cool, and I've re-recorded it, and maybe I'll drop it to go with this episode, because I never released the re-recorded version. But just really cool. So I randomly dropped that EP. It was like 4 songs when I was jamming with John and his friend Miles, who are now in a band together. I was jamming with them. I jammed with them for about a month. We'd get together like once a week. And, the first day was just like I didn't know Miles. John and I knew each other for like a while before that, like probably 5 years or something like that. Mm-hmm. And so it's just like getting to know Miles, getting a feel for like what skill level he was at the time, trying to figure out how to play with all 3 of us. It was the first time I'd ever played with like more than one other person. We played a lot of covers the first time we got together, which I just figured like it's the first time you jam, sure. Yeah. But then that turned into like a month of getting together once a week and just playing covers for 8 hours a day. And I was not about that, especially because like at the time, Miles was super closed-minded about music. Like he just wanted to play Nirvana. They wanted to sound like Nirvana, and I'm not a huge Nirvana fan. Like I respect what they've done for the industry, but like just not my thing. Like I was so into recording. I just wanted to record and make music. And like I was like, my whole thing is I had pitched the idea of like why don't we warm up every week with like 2 or 3 covers, just to get like in the groove, and then work on music. And like there was this group chat going, and like every week it was like 20 different covers were getting dropped. Like, oh, let's do this, let's do that, let's do this. And like Miles didn't want to play any of the music I did, but like I was just trying to compromise with them and be like, okay, I'll play Nirvana, okay, I'll play Pearl Jam, even though I hate Pearl Jam. Just like it was a very like one-sided thing. I started taking Jack with me to try and like remedy the situation, and like it just made it worse.
It's funny that you bring that up. It's just like the difference in the way people collaborate. Like you wanted to write music, and maybe it was something where they weren't like they weren't able to do that like on the spot.
Mm-hmm.
They would have had to come with an idea, and then you guys would mess around off of that. But it sounds like they were trying to do a lot of covers.
Yeah.
To begin with.
Like, I remember John saying, like, they had an EP's worth of stuff written. And then when I got there, like, the one week, I was like, all right, show me some of your stuff. And they were like, well, we really only have one song. And I was like, wait, what? Like, you know, so maybe it was like they had a couple ideas, but they really only fleshed out one of them. And it was very basic and just sounded like Nirvana.
I know a lot of the Above the Mendoza stuff was one of us would bring an idea, and then everybody would kind of like go home, listen to it, think up some stuff, and then bring that back.
Right.
It changed throughout the whole process.
Yeah.
Like the first record was Pete and myself, and Tyler wrote most of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second album was second EP was much more collaborative, and ideas bouncing off of different people a little bit more. And then it just kind of kept going that way.
Yeah.
The further we got. And I mean, if not everyone knows, Pete wrote most of the stuff. Pete and Tyler did a lot of the writing. But we all threw our spin on it at some point. And I don't know, I was never someone who could just show up and like jam something out, like, oh, that's a good idea, let's make a song out of that. Yeah. It was always kind of like I'd have to work on my own first and come with an idea and say, hey, what do you guys think of this? Right. Can you put your spin on this idea? Yeah. Type of thing.
Sure. And I think that's a big thing about like being in a band and collaborating with other people, is that you just have to be open-minded. And like for me, like I said, I tried giving the covers a chance, but when it was 8 to 10 hours a day of just doing that all day on my day off, I was like, this isn't what I want to do. Right. And especially, you know, I remember the last week I was there, it's like Jack's girlfriend randomly got invited over, which is like, why? You know, I mean, at the time, in hindsight, you know, I think I was a little bit more of a stickler. I should have just enjoyed the experience while I had it. But like, you know, being young and immature, like you want what you want, and that's, you know, that's where your mind is at.
Well, you were focused on the music, and they were
just
less
kind of,
so.
They were kind of just focused on like hanging out, and and I remember like being like, can we cover this song, or can we cut? And they'd be like, no, we don't want to do that one, no. But then when it'd show up, it'd be like, okay, let's cover 22 Nirvana songs and play Velvet Underground and like stuff I didn't like. And then they would just be like talking about how terrible the Foo Fighters were, and like just really, you know, just not cool in my opinion. I remember the last day I was there, I was just like, John was like, oh, let's cover a Blink song, and Miles goes, I'm not effing covering that crap. You know, it's just like, and I remember being like, oh,
but we can cover every single song that you want to cover.
So like that, you know, I remember going home that day, I was really frustrated, really disappointed, because like I always liked those guys, like John and Jack, and you know, Miles grew on me over time, but like it just didn't work. Right. And so I was really frustrated with that whole situation. I felt like not so much a wasted opportunity, but just like it was just a bummer, a huge bummer. You know, I felt like my thing that I had always wanted, and still to this day would love, is just like to be in a band with your best friends and just like goof around and make fun music, like Blink 182. Like that's always been the thing, is like they always just had this good friendship and they just had fun. Right. And that's always what I wanted. And so like it just didn't work out. To coincide with that, I had been going through this weird, 2017 was a weird year for me. I was just extremely nostalgic, like for a specific year in time, like it was the year I had met my ex-girlfriend, and Jack and I had this crazy summer that it was like 2013, and like that's all I would think about. Well, not all I would think about, but like at night I would get on my old phone and like read old text messages and listen to music to like, it was like an escape. It was like escapism, and like I'd almost like regressed psychologically, you know? And so like I was just really nostalgic for this one specific time, and it's like so stupid because looking back on it, I'm like, dude, like the best was yet to come. Like what are you talking about? Like, right. Being 15 again, who cares? Like, you know? So like that whole thing with the guys happened when I was in this nostalgic period, and that caused like this explosion of like creativity, which is what led to the album Solitude being recorded, which was like my, if you want to call it like my big album that a lot of people checked out. I think it had like over 500 listens on Bandcamp, like people checked out the tracks like over 500 times, and it took me like months to work on. And so like that was like a whole process that I started a couple weeks after I stopped going to John's. I was like, you know what? It felt like an arms race. It was like, who's going to put out music first? Every week on my day off, I would sit down and just like record a new song. And it was like one of those things I could just sit down and do it on the spot. I can't do that anymore unless it's like the electronic stuff I've been working on. But like I used to just sit down and be like, all right, like let's just throw some layers together and like flesh it out.
Right.
The whole recording process was like inspired by I was just enamored from a young age by recording. Like I don't know what got you into it, but for me there was all these videos I found when I was like 13 or 14 years old of Blink recording this self-titled album on YouTube, and then MTV did a documentary about it, and just watching like that whole process of like having fun using different guitars, different amps, different drums, recording, you know, just them goofing around, like that totally like sucked me in, and I was like, I want to do that.
Yeah. Like
that's super cool. Well, like what was it for you? Was there like a specific thing?
I think it was a couple factors. One was I was playing in bands at the time that I was making the decision of what I wanted to do with the rest of my life. And I looked at it as a multi-purpose, like I can make this a career and make money doing it.
Yeah.
And I can also utilize the skills to record my own band and like save money from going to a real studio and just do it myself, and like be able to put out good quality stuff, which, you know, it never really happened. I never got good at it.
Yeah.
Good, I should say.
No, I've heard some of your stuff, man. Like the demos and stuff, they're good.
It was okay.
Like I've heard some my bedroom demo with the PlayStation headset, absolutely awful.
But I mean, going along with that, like the end of my high school, I was really into doing the battle of the bands that my high school put on, and like learning how all the live sound stuff worked. It always kind of piqued my interest, I should say. Yeah. In knowing how that works. Mostly for self-gain, where I would be able to set up all the live stuff and put on my own shows, or my band. I want to be able to record my band and be able to get demos and stuff together. Yeah. So it was very like self-fulfilling reasons as to why. Nice. But then it also ended up being like, I could maybe, when I got out of high school, I was like, well, I don't really have an interest in anything besides music right now. Like I don't want to go be an accountant or a biologist or whatever,
or an insurance salesman.
Yeah, you know, like I don't know, it's just what I was immersed in at the time was music, was everything. Like the people I hung out with, most of the things I did outside of school involved music somehow. So it was just a natural thing. I wasn't really an independent thinker at that time. I was just like, this is what I'm doing because it's what I'm in. It's the only thing I really know.
That's exactly how I was too. I mean, as you get older, you realize how hard it is to actually like make it in music. Yeah, like
listen, I don't regret it. I don't regret doing it.
Not at all. Not at all.
Looking back on it, would I have done it differently? Maybe. Yeah. But you know so much more now than you did when you were 17 and 18.
For sure. And I think it's cool too, because like I said, you know, music is kind of one of those universal bonding things, and that was like what you and I, when we met, it was like a big interest of ours was like recording.
Oh yeah.
And like since then we've watched a couple documentaries. You showed me Sound City, such a good one. Like people who aren't even musicians have told me they've watched it and they're like, that was so cool. Like if you're a music fan, I think it's something worth checking out because you'll appreciate it if you like music. Quick synopsis: it was a studio in California somewhere.
Yeah, I think California. This big studio that a bunch of famous people recorded at. And as the industry kind of becomes less and less big studio and more independent recording and kind of smaller operations, they've been shutting down a lot of the big studios. And this one, Dave Grohl, I haven't seen the movie in a while. Dave Grohl purchased it, I believe.
Oh, cool.
If not, he was renting it out and like did this documentary on all the big acts that came through this studio.
Yeah, it was, from what I remember, it's been a couple years since we watched it, but it was like it got big in like the 60s and 70s or something like that. And then when everything switched to digital in the 80s, it died off because they were all analog.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. That was their gimmick, is they stayed tape like through the whole thing.
And then into the 90s, they had this resurgence because of Nirvana. I think they recorded Nevermind there.
Mm-hmm.
And Rage Against the Machine recorded there. So, like, these big acts came in and, like, made these huge, like, platinum hit records.
Yeah.
And that kind of caused a resurgence. It's a really good watch. I recommend, you know, if you're a music fan, it's a good watch. If you
we've nerded out on a lot of recording stuff, though.
Yeah. Like, if you like, just to close that thought out, if you like Dave Grohl and the Foo Fighters, and you'll love it. Dave Grohl, please sponsor me. It's the second time I'm asking for that. But, no, and then the other one, was it Bullet in a Bible? The Green Day, where they recorded American Idiot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Bullet in a... Yeah, that had to be it.
Yeah.
Because that's a live... That's their live album, but I think it also has like behind the scenes recording stuff too.
Yeah, because I remember we watched one about the recording of American Idiot. That was really cool. It was really interesting too, because like for people that say like American Idiot was a sellout album, you see like their thoughts behind like, you know, they wanted to do something different as opposed to just like writing Dookie all over again, you know. Which, not to say anything negative about Dookie, it's a phenomenal album.
Right.
But it's just, you know, it's a really good documentary, but I would definitely recommend watching Sound City. But that was a huge bonding point when we met. And so that's like, I was, as you said, immersed in recording. That was why I got into it, was Blink and all these other bands, watching them record. And so like when I wrote this album, Solitude, it was this big bash of like nostalgia, longing for a different time in my life, and, you know, the stuff with the guys. And so I recorded it from like, I think March to May, like 2 months. I had all the songs done. And then over the summer I mixed them. And I released it. I remember I was on my first ever vacation by myself. We went to Vermont. And I released it in September. And it was so weird. I feel like Union Coffee Break, the big overall picture is that it's like an outlet for me. It's been an outlet for like when something's going on in my life. That's what I've turned to as like the venting mechanism, you know. Like I write these songs and like I've written about like this stuff, like depression, nostalgia, anxiety, you know, breakup. Like my last release was like right after I had this huge messy breakup from a long-term relationship. And so it's always just been this cathartic experience of, you know, I go through something usually immensely negative, and then I make this release, and then it's like as soon as it gets put out, it's almost like this weight gets lifted from my shoulders, and like I can move forward. It's like I'm no longer like chained to that experience anymore. And that's what happened with Solitude. It was like as soon as I put that album out, and I was like in Vermont, which I'd been wanting to go there for like years. When I got home, wasn't looking at old messages anymore, wasn't like super nostalgic. I was like ready to start moving forward. Which was really cool, you know. I don't know if you've ever had anything like that, like where you have some sort of like... I
mean, I think music has been a form of therapy. That's the reason that you pour your emotion and your heart and soul into making these songs is...
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't want to say you don't hear a lot of happy songs, but a lot of songs are built to entertain people, but the people who write them, you tend to find struggle or have some kind of traumatic experience. That's how they become really deep, emotional, connecting songs. There's something normally negative associated with the process of being able to put those songs together.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
That's probably a very general statement, but I'm sure you can find exceptions all over where there's very happy songs too.
For sure. I mean, like look at Blinding Lights by The Weeknd. That gets me hyped whenever it comes on. Every time that comes on, Kayla's in the car. Like when it comes on football, she starts like dancing. She gets all pumped. I'm like, yes. But yeah, no, music. It was just, you know, Union Coffee Break was just a way for me to get my feelings out, to vent, and it was cathartic. Solitude, I don't really know what I'd call the big songs. There were a couple ones that were really good. I mean, I know Solitude, the song was like, that was like the single I dropped. I had a whole little video I made for it, like me walking around in the woods that I always talked about in this album. that album was like really heavy in terms of like big, just huge guitars and like lots of screaming, and it was a lot of different sounds, and the recording quality was like a huge jump from the demo I put out 2 years prior. Like, right. I remember I sent it to everyone, and everyone was like, like my friends and my family, and they were like, "This is insane! Like, you did this yourself?" I was like, "Yeah, I did it all." And they were like, "That's crazy." Even John and Miles were like Miles didn't like anything I wrote because he thought it all just sounded like Blink-182. But he was
and we're not playing that effing stuff here.
Yeah. And he was just he apparently he was even like, yeah, like it's pretty cool. And John was like blown away. He's like, that's crazy that he did that, Yeah. And then so like it was cool. And then like from there, Union Coffee Break kind of just went on I don't know, that was like the climax, I think, because then after that it was like their band, John and Miles, was like really becoming established. They were getting ready to put stuff out, and again, it just felt like an arms race. I was like, right, they're putting a demo out, I have to put music out too. And like, I put out a really terrible EP in 2018 that I really don't like at this point. I started 2 or 3 different albums and just never finished them because I just got bored with it or just couldn't figure out where to go with them.
Right.
We got together for a practice one time. End of 2017. This is quick. I just want to touch on this real quick. After Solitude came out, we got together. Aaron and I had met. We were jamming, which that's the last point we're going to get to. So you and I had been jamming for a couple months. My friend Doug, who was on the podcast, he for months was bugging me about playing drums for me. He was like, dude, let me play drums for you. If I don't record, just let me play drums live. Like, I just want to be your drummer. Your music's awesome. Like, so I pitched the idea to Doug. He was into it. I just asked Jack, like, hey, can you play bass for us? He's like, yeah, that'd be cool. We all got together one night, and like for being the first time that all 4 of us were together, it wasn't bad. Like, it was a decent like practice session.
We didn't play covers the whole time, that's for sure.
I think we tried to cover Everlong, and it just didn't work.
Yeah.
And so then
Monkey Wrench. It was some Foo Fighters song.
And that was again like my whole like, oh, screw you, food truck, we're gonna play Foo Fighters. You wanna play Nirvana, we're gonna play Foo Fighters, like, But and it was like the end of the year. Like, I remember I had to go. It was like right before Thanksgiving or something like that. Because afterwards I had to go down to North Carolina, help my brother-in-law moved their house. You were getting into a new job at the time, so it was like one of those things where we're like, all right, we'll get back together in the new year.
Right.
By the time that rolled around, like, Doug was like, oh, I'm playing in another band, and then like the same day he dropped out. Like, he was like, I can't commit, even though like he bugged me for so long. He was like, oh, I can't be in your band anymore. I was like, dude, what? And then like him and Jack both quit the same day. Jack basically just told me like, I don't really like your music. I'm just doing it because I'm your friend. And I was like, wait, I thought you thought it was cool. Like, what are you talking about? From that point on, it was just kind of a downward spiral. I will say, though, I put out that EP that I wasn't fond of. And then, like, 2019 rolled around, and I had a bunch of issues with the relationship I was in. And I was working on some songs, and then I put out Nothing Back, which I think is one of the best songs I've ever written. It's mainly acoustic, and it has to do with, like, someone leaving you and, like, breaking up. And it's crazy. Like, when I listened to that song, I heard Mark Hoppus say in an interview one time, like, when he talks about when they made Damn It, or like when they play it, every time they play it live, he said like, yeah, it takes me right back to like where I was at in my life when we wrote the song. And it just makes me feel all those emotions. And like, I've never really had that before, but when I listen to this song, oh man, it just bums me out. Like, it's crazy. Like, I've never had that happen before. I remember a couple weeks ago, it popped up on my SoundCloud and I gave it a listen. gave it all and I got back nothing. I gave it all and I got back nothing. I gave it all and I got back nothing. I hit the ropes, invested all alone, tried to find the words to fit this song, wondering where did I go wrong. I'll travel this world alone, in search of a new hope. You can always come and find me, you know right where I'll be. You push me back, I'll chase you to the end. I'm heavy with regret. I gave it all and I got back nothing. I gave it all and I got back nothing. I gave it all and I got back nothing. I gave it all and I got back nothing. I gave it all and I got back nothing. And I texted Kayla afterwards and I was like, man, I am so bummed right now. Like, my old music makes me really sad. And it's not because it's sad music. I mean, like, it is, but it's because, like, it made me feel what I was feeling when I wrote it. Just like, that uncertainty, that anxiety, that, you know, that fear. It was crazy how it just took me back. So, like, that was the thing. And then, you know, go through the whole breakup. I write an album about it that I put out at the beginning of 2020, which I think is the best music I've ever written. It's all, you know, it's very brand new influenced, of course. You know, lots of acoustic stuff, lots of darker themes. Vocals are vastly improved. You can actually hear what I'm saying. Lots of cool stuff. All your scars falling apart. Who will hold your shit together now that my time's done?
Tell me why we run to the things that cut us up the most.
As for right now, like, Union Coffee Break is pretty much done. And that's not to say I won't ever go back to it, because all it takes is one traumatic event in your life. Or one negative. No, I don't want to say traumatic. That's overly dramatic. It just takes that one negative thing that, you know, throws you back into, like, all right, Union Coffee Break, let's go. Dust it off. Get it out of the closet, you know. But, like, as of right now, like, I'm really content just doing the podcast. I make music on the side for fun, like, with many different people.
Right.
Like, Doug and I are working on, made some stuff. You and I have talked about doing stuff. I have electronic stuff I'm working on, just for fun, you know. And Union Coffee Break I took way too seriously instead of just having fun with it. You know. So I think that's the most important thing, is just, like, making sure you're not taking yourself too seriously.
Yeah, I agree with that. There's a point where you could take it too seriously, but if that's what you really, truly 100% believe in, and you're not willing to compromise, then there's always that. It's to each their own.
Yeah.
If you're willing to dive in 100% and that be everything in your life, then yeah, take it too seriously.
I think it's because it never materialized in anything, like, tangible other than, like, releases, which there are a lot of artists that just do releases and never, but, like, I don't know. I'm glad I did it. It was a great experience, and it's not to say I won't ever release anything under that name again, but, like, it was fun while it lasted, you know?
Oh, yeah.
It was cool. It was a cool time. Through this, you and I met. And I remember, so I had met your brother Pete at a show, a few years ago, and you guys were playing at Music Fest, and I was kind of like the roadie for the night.
Is this the first time we met, Story?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, this is the first time you and I actually. Okay, actually no, I think we met once prior to this.
I remember
when you brought the CDs.
Yeah, I think that was the first time.
Okay.
I also met you at the Quakertown Legion when we played with Heal the Night. But you know what show I'm talking about, the Quakertown Legion show.
That was the very first time I saw you guys.
Yeah.
Did we? I didn't remember.
I met you. I don't know if we remember
I don't
talking to each other, but I definitely met you and said, hey.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, well, that night...
I was also a little preoccupied that night.
So was I. My ex-girlfriend was mad at me over something stupid. We were like
Same.
We were in the midst... Look at that, Eskimo brothers. No, no, we were in the midst of like a fight over.
Was that before or after the CD?
No, because that was 2016. I bought what was that? 5 More Minute. What was that? The one that Koala was on. Fast Forward. I bought Fast Forward from Pete. I remember he was like, "Oh, it's $4, but like whatever you can give." I was like, "No, dude, I got $4." Like, sure, no. And then when your second EP came out, I remember you guys came to drop them off. So yeah, okay. I guess I did talk to you prior to that.
It was a couple times, but it was just like
I think
surface conversation.
Yeah, I think though, like the night you guys played Music Fest, I remember I rode with you guys, picked me up, and I helped you guys load in and load out. I wrote out your set list for you. That was I felt like so cool. I was like, this is so cool. Like I felt like I actually had friends for once, like it was just really cool. And I remember like Pete and I had been talking about doing music for so long, but Pete is like a super busy guy, and so like it never panned out. But I remember I hit you up and I was like, hey, like, are you in the area? Mm-hmm. And you were like, yeah, man. And like we decided like, yeah, let's jam sometime. And I remember when I got back from Vermont, that's when we got together the first time and jammed, and it like super cool, like so much fun, like, and that's where the Groomsmen materialized. Lots of good memories. I think we've briefly touched on it. I remember the first time we jammed, I brought the idea, the big idea that we always played around with, the one that was called like Punk Idea, Green Day-ish.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna throw that in here. I still love that song, and I wish we would finish it at some point. I hope we do.
Let's do it, man.
It's such a cool song.
2021 goal.
Finish a song.
Finish Green Day-ish, punkish, songish.
Ish. Yeah, it's just a really cool song. I remember I brought that, and then like we jammed it a little bit, and you were like, "Oh, teach me some of your songs," and I was like, "What? Like, you want me to teach you my songs?" And because I remember, I also told Pete when I put the album out, I was like, "Hey, send this to your brother." And he did, and I remember you hit me up. I don't know if you had my phone number. We might have swapped phone numbers at some point.
Something like that. Swap digits.
You texted me, and you were like, "Did you do this all yourself?" I was like, "Yeah, I did it all in my bedroom."
I was like, "Yo, you up?"
You're like, "Hey, what are you wearing?" No, I just remember you being like, "Did you do this all yourself?" Like, this is incredible. Like, I remember that made me feel so good about, like, I have a screenshot of it somewhere because that just made me feel like I did something really good.
Yeah.
Looking at how far I came in like 2 or 3 years, like music wise and recording wise.
I think you brought most of the ideas to Groomsmen.
Yeah. I would usually try and bring at least one idea per week.
I mean, especially personally, my songwriting process is I always have to come up with the idea and then like bring it to you to do it.
Yeah.
But I'm also open to like you bringing me ideas, and that's how like you were responsible for a majority of the Groomsmen material.
I was also very like, I had a lot of ideas Like now I feel like I've done so much musically that like it's hard for me to like really think of something creative and innovative sometimes that I haven't done before. Like there are times where I record something and I'm like, why does that sound familiar? And I'm like, oh, I used that riff already in this song. So it's like, so the project was called Groomsmen because on the way home from your house, I was listening to their album Good Morning, like morning as in like morning death. And on the cover, it's like the three members of the band like in suits, like all decked out, and it's like black and red. And I remember thinking like, wow, like what if we called the project Groomsmen? Like so stupid, but like you know, like I was thinking about it this morning at work, you know, 3 a.m. donut frying thoughts, and I was just like, what a stupid name. Like, oh man, like,
hey, if you think that's dumb, one of my previous band's names was Transfer Switch, and we got that name because Pete and myself worked in an auto garage at one point, and on the wall was an electrical panel with a label Transfer Switch. And that was like, we were like, that's a cool name.
Just
let's try that.
Yeah,
that was the picture of that panel was also our EP cover.
Really? Yeah. That's funny. That's awesome. Thoughts and memories. We've briefly talked about it. It was a good learning experience, I think, for myself. I don't know about you.
Oh, definitely.
Because jamming with you, I think, was different than jamming with the other people
I think anytime you collaborate with someone new, you're going to pick up different things, whether that's good or bad, is to be seen. But like I didn't have a lot of writing experience outside of bands that I formed, or like Pete and I wrote all the time. So like I knew that style of writing.
Yeah.
So to be able to collaborate with you was definitely a little different than I had ever done, and it's always good to like open yourself up to experiences like that.
Yeah, and I think for me, jamming with you, like you were so easygoing, like you weren't afraid to be like, let's try this a different way, or let's go half time here, or let's go double time here, and let's see how that sounds. But then like you always thought outside the box too. Like you were very laid back and like, yeah, that's a cool idea. You gave suggestions, but you helped me to think outside the box, because like the end of Ignite, I remember we just kind of had like this outro, and you were like, this needs something. And then we just pulled up a Rhodes piano plug-in, and you and you just like programmed it in this like Rhodes piano, and we put like distortion and chorus on it, or flanger, or like some weird
dressed
effects.
It up a little bit,
and it just like that makes the end of the song. It's like the most basic little like descending melody, but like, so you helped me to think outside the box when it came to recording.
I'm honored.
You've been I've humbled you many times.
You have
recently.
I feel like you talked me up too much.
Nah, man,
you gotta bring the bar down a little bit.
Nah. See, the thing is, okay, so people who don't know you, from my perspective, we're gonna get a little sassy right now. Draw the lights, or draw the bath, dim the lights, light a candle. For those who don't know Aaron, he has always been a swell pal.
You make me squirm over here.
You up? No, you've just always been a really good friend to me, man. I really, too many things to talk about right now, because we're already, over an hour a little bit. But, lots of fun experiences with the Groomsmen thing, fun times. And the one last point I had to pitch, 2021 reunion. I think we've briefly discussed it. We should at least do a song.
Yeah,
we have the music.
I think we can definitely put that on the record. Yeah, that we're gonna release at least one song.
One group. That's the goal.
You just have to figure out how to restart the Bandcamp page.
No, we'll just make a new one. I think I still have the Gmail. We could just.
Nice.
Yeah. No, I think we should at least do one song. That's the goal for the next 11 months.
I'm not gonna give away all my secrets, but yeah, at least one song.
Lots of good stuff. If you enjoyed what you heard, give us a follow on SoundCloud. Check us out on Instagram. If you've made it to this point, I thank you for listening to the whole episode. I hope it wasn't too boring. I tried to keep it as concise as possible. And I did a lot better than I did at work this morning. Because at work this morning, this episode was 3 hours long. Next, tune in. We're having Aaron's brother Pete on. We're going to talk about my cousin's girlfriend's house. We're going to talk about the disappointing 2020 Eagles season. What a dumpster fire that is.
I'm glad we didn't touch on that.
No.
Are you also going to talk about the Browns, your first favorite team in your heart?
Hey. They made it further than the Eagles did. I may be getting ahead of myself, but I think we're going to be premiering a new My Cousin's Girlfriend song house. I've heard it. It is phenomenal. I don't know if it's going to be out before the episode drops, but we're going to be playing a new song on there. Really good. I've heard it. It's awesome. So tune in for another music-themed episode. There'll be a little bit of football, but I'm going to put a timestamp so people can skip over it because I know not everyone's huge into football. And it'll be a fun time. Really looking forward to the episodes that are coming this season. We got talks about Sonic stories. My one cousin worked at Sonic, and he's going to tell some wild stories. We're going to talk about the drama in our fantasy football league.
Nice.
I'm going to have on, Ghosty Art. Kayla is going to be back on. We're going to talk about her time at Subway.
So that'll probably be the top listened episode of season 3, maybe?
Somehow on the Evergreen, she was the top listened one. For Sean, we may do 2 episodes. I have to check with him on that.
I guess I have to step my game up. I'm trying to get the top listened episode, man.
We got to,
for the person who won longest or most appearances on the show, I definitely have to step it up to get most listened.
Yeah, well, the most listened, I think was one of the Peapod episodes because the guy shared it on his Facebook. It has like 300 listens on it.
Oh my god,
I hate those episodes, man. Just let it be known now, I despise those episodes. I made myself look like such a jerk. Like, oh, so terrible. But anyways, this season, Sean and I, we've talked about my 21st birthday, my unhappy 21st birthday. We're going to talk about, and then I was thinking it'd be cool to do like a musical influences episode because he's like super into music. He's a musician. We're going to talk music. We're going to talk the Birds. We're going to talk one of my friends who's a professional wrestler is going to be on.
Nice.
So that'll be a fun one. I'm going to have Ben, who did the t-shirts, on. He was around like during the late 2000s like metal scene, like the screamo stuff. So we're going to talk like that, just like making music and all that stuff. So lots of cool stuff coming up. More fun, more laughs. I'm trying to clean it up a little bit. I want this to be a more professional podcast moving forward because I've received feedback, good feedback, and then like I've received some feedback where people were like, dude, like I listened to the one episode and it was super clean, and then I listened to the other one and you're like dropping F-bombs every other sentence and talking about like farts and stuff, like what's going on? And I'm like, yeah, that happens. So I'm trying to clean it up a little bit, so that it's more appealing to the masses.
All right, so let's start this thing over real quick.
You up? I'm going to wrap there. Thank you all for listening. Check us out on social media. Give us a follow on SoundCloud. Aaron, it was a joy to have you. It was a blessing.
The pleasure's all mine, man. Thanks for bringing me on and continuing to let me
Aaron
spew nonsense.
Isn't that all podcasting is? Just spewing nonsense. Aaron will be on for a couple more episodes this season. He is co-host, probably like 2 or 3 more. So should be a fun time. Hope you enjoyed listening. Thank you for stopping by. Hope you enjoyed your stay. And I will see you all on the next episode in 2 weeks where we talk My Cousin's Girlfriend's House.